Disappointment is something we all experience. It arises when reality does not match our expectations. We hope for a certain outcome, but when things do not go as planned, we feel sadness, frustration, or even anger. This feeling is natural, but why does it happen? At the core of disappointment is expectation. We create ideas in our minds about how life should be. We expect people to treat us a certain way. We expect our efforts to bring results. We expect stability in an ever-changing world. But reality does not always follow our expectations. When our desires and reality do not align, we suffer. This does not mean we should never have hopes or dreams. It is natural to want good things in life. However, when we hold on too tightly to our expectations, we set ourselves up for suffering. The tighter we grasp, the more painful it becomes when things slip through our fingers. Think about a time when you felt deep disappointment. Maybe you worked hard for something, but the outcome was not what you expected. Perhaps a friend let you down, or a situation turned out differently than you hoped. In that moment, the pain was real. But if we look closely, we can see that the pain was not only from the situation itself. It also came from how strongly we held on to a particular idea of how things should be. When we recognize this, we take the first step toward freedom from suffering. We start to see that disappointment is not just caused by external events, but by our own attachments to outcomes. The mind clings to certain possibilities, and when they do not come true, we struggle. But what if we could see things differently? What if, instead of resisting reality, we could understand it more deeply? By observing disappointment with insight, we gain a new perspective. We see that expectations are part of being human, but they are not absolute truths. They are simply thoughts, mental projections of a future that has not yet come. When we realize this, we can begin to loosen our grip on them. Understanding the nature of disappointment does not mean we suppress our feelings. It means we look at them honestly, without judgment. We see them for what they are, and in doing so, we open the door to wisdom. This is where our journey begins. When disappointment strikes, it can feel overwhelming. The emotions that arise, sadness, frustration, even bitterness, can cloud our thoughts. In those moments, it is easy to believe that the pain will last forever. But no emotion, no matter how strong, is permanent. Think of the sky. On some days it is bright and clear. On others, dark clouds fill it. But no matter how thick the clouds, the sky itself does not change. It remains vast and open. Our minds are like that sky. Disappointment may come like a storm, but it is not who we are. It is a passing experience. If we remember this, we can begin to see beyond the immediate pain. One way to shift our perspective is to recognize the impermanence of all things. No situation, no feeling, no thought remains the same forever. The job we lost, the opportunity that slipped away, the person who let us down. These experiences feel heavy now, but they will change with time. Nothing in life stays fixed. The more we accept this truth, the more space we create in our hearts. Another way to see beyond disappointment is to ask, what can I learn from this? Every difficulty carries a lesson. Perhaps our expectations were too rigid. Perhaps we placed too much happiness in something outside of ourselves. Maybe the situation is guiding us toward a different path, one we had not considered before. When we look at disappointment as a teacher rather than an enemy, its grip on us loosens. This does not mean we ignore our emotions. It is important to feel what arises. If we try to push disappointment away or pretend it does not exist, it only grows stronger. Instead, we acknowledge it with kindness. We say, "Yes, I feel this. But this feeling is not permanent. It will pass. In doing so, we create space between ourselves and the pain. When disappointment comes, we have a choice. We can stay trapped in our suffering, or we can step back and observe it with wisdom. We can remind ourselves that what feels unbearable now will not last forever. We can shift our perspective and see beyond the storm, and when we do, something begins to change. The weight of disappointment lifts, and we start to see the possibilities that still remain. When faced with disappointment, many people react in one of two ways. Some fight against it, refusing to accept what has happened. They replay events in their minds, thinking, "It shouldn't be this way." Others fall into hopelessness, believing that life is unfair and beyond their control. But neither of these reactions brings peace. They only deepen suffering. There is another way: acceptance. But acceptance is often misunderstood. Some think it means giving up or being passive. They fear that if they accept a situation, they are agreeing with it or allowing it to continue. But true acceptance is not about weakness. It is about clarity. Acceptance means seeing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. It is the willingness to meet the present moment without resistance. When we stop fighting against what has already happened, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain. This does not mean we stop trying to improve our lives. It simply means we no longer waste energy struggling against what is. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hands. The longer you hold it, the more painful it becomes. You may wish it were lighter. You may wish you were stronger. But the weight does not change. The only way to find relief is to put the stone down. In the same way, when we accept a situation, we release the burden of resistance. Acceptance is powerful because it allows us to respond to life with wisdom instead of reaction. When we accept what has happened, we can ask, "What now?" Instead of getting stuck in disappointment, we can focus on what is within our control. Sometimes, this means taking action. Other times, it means letting go. But either way, we move forward with clarity rather than confusion. One way to practice acceptance is to recognize that life does not always follow our plans. We may wish for certainty, but life is full of changes and surprises. By accepting this truth, we become more adaptable. We stop expecting life to fit into our expectations and start meeting each moment as it comes. In disappointment, acceptance does not erase the pain, but it helps us move through it with wisdom. It allows us to see that even in difficult moments, there is space for peace. And when we stop resisting, we begin to find the strength to continue our journey. Disappointment can feel like a heavy weight on the heart. When things do not go as expected, it is easy to feel defeated. But some people seem to recover more quickly than others. They face setbacks, yet they keep moving forward. What allows them to do this? The answer is resilience, the ability to adapt and grow through challenges. Resilience does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means developing the strength to stand up again after we fall. It is not something we are born with or without. It is something we can cultivate. And insight plays a key role in this process. One way to build resilience is through self-reflection. When disappointment strikes, instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this?" Every challenge carries a lesson. Perhaps we placed too much expectation on a certain outcome. Perhaps we relied too much on something outside of ourselves for happiness. If we take time to reflect, we begin to see patterns in our reactions. Over time, we learn how to meet difficulties with more wisdom. Another key to resilience is remembering that we are not alone. When we experience disappointment, it is easy to feel isolated, as if we are the only ones who suffer. But every person, at some point, faces setbacks. Relationships end, dreams do not unfold as planned, and things change in unexpected ways. This is part of being human. When we recognize this, we feel less alone in our struggles. Resilience also grows when we shift our focus from what was lost to what still remains. Even in the face of disappointment, life continues to offer possibilities. A closed door may lead us to one we had not considered before. A lost opportunity may create space for something new. This does not mean we must force ourselves to feel positive right away. But over time, if we keep our eyes open, we will see that life is always changing, always offering new paths. Developing resilience is a practice. It does not happen overnight. But each time we reflect, each time we remind ourselves that disappointment is not the end of the story, we strengthen our ability to move forward. And in doing so, we become less shaken by life's ups and downs. We learn to trust that even when things do not go as planned, we have the inner strength to continue. Disappointment is often seen as something negative, something to avoid or overcome. But what if we viewed it differently? What if disappointment was not just a source of pain, but also an opportunity for growth? Growth does not happen only in times of success. In fact, some of our greatest learning happens when things do not go as planned. When we experience disappointment, we are given a choice. We can dwell in frustration and regret, or we can ask ourselves, how can this experience help me grow? One way to transform disappointment is to shift our mindset about failure. Many people fear failure because they see it as proof of their limitations. They believe it means they are not good enough, not capable enough. But in reality, failure is simply feedback. It shows us what did not work and gives us insight into what we can do differently next time. Some of the world's most successful people have faced great failures. What sets them apart is not that they never experienced disappointment, but that they used it as a stepping stone. Another way to grow from disappointment is to develop patience. When we do not get what we want, it is easy to feel discouraged. But sometimes, the things we desire take time to manifest. A delay does not mean the journey is over. It simply means we are still in the process. Just as a tree takes time to bear fruit, our efforts and aspirations also require time to develop. Instead of seeing disappointment as the end, we can see it as part of the journey. This perspective allows us to become more adaptable. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully we plan, there will always be moments when things unfold differently than expected. If we are rigid in our thinking, we will suffer more. But if we remain open, we can adjust and find new possibilities. Sometimes, the path we did not plan leads us to something even better. Transforming disappointment into growth does not mean ignoring our emotions. It is natural to feel sadness when things do not go as hoped. But instead of letting that sadness define us, we can use it as fuel for growth. We can reflect, adjust, and move forward with greater understanding. In this way, disappointment becomes not just a source of pain, but a teacher. It helps us develop strength, patience, and wisdom. And over time, we learn that even in life's difficulties, there is an opportunity to grow. After experiencing disappointment, after reflecting and growing, we come to the final question. How do we move forward with peace? Life will continue to bring both joy and sorrow, success and failure. If we do not learn to steady our minds, we will always be at the mercy of external events. But there is another way, living with equanimity. Equanimity is a state of balance, an inner stability that does not depend on circumstances. It does not mean we do not feel emotions. Rather, it means we are not controlled by them. We acknowledge joy without clinging to it. We feel pain without being overwhelmed by it. We recognize that all experiences, good and bad, come and go. To develop equanimity, we must first accept that life is unpredictable. No matter how much effort we put into planning, things will not always go as expected. If we base our happiness on outcomes, we will always be anxious, always struggling to control things beyond our reach. But if we shift our focus to how we respond, we regain our power. We cannot always control what happens, but we can control our attitude toward it. Another key to equanimity is understanding that we are more than our successes and failures. Many people tie their self-worth to external achievements. When things go well, they feel valuable. When things fall apart, they feel lost. But our true worth is not defined by circumstances. It is something deeper, something that remains unchanged no matter what happens. When we recognize this, we stop being so easily shaken by life's ups and downs. Equanimity also comes from trusting the flow of life. Sometimes, what seems like a disappointment in the moment turns out to be a blessing in disguise. A lost opportunity may lead to a new path. A painful ending may create space for a new beginning. Life has a way of unfolding in ways we do not always understand. When we trust this process, we can meet challenges with greater calm and confidence. This does not mean we will never feel disappointment again. But when it comes, we will not be trapped by it. We will see it, understand it, and let it pass. And through this, we will find a deeper sense of peace, one that does not depend on external conditions, but arises from within. Living with equanimity does not mean avoiding life's difficulties. It means embracing them with wisdom. It means walking through both joy and sorrow with a steady heart. And when we do this, we are truly free. Disappointment is a natural part of life. No one can escape it completely. But as we have explored, it does not have to control us. When we understand its nature, shift our perspective, and accept reality with wisdom, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. By cultivating resilience and seeing disappointment as a path to growth, we become stronger. And when we develop equanimity, we find a deep, lasting peace that is not shaken by life's ups and downs. Life will always bring moments of both joy and sorrow. We cannot change that. But we can change how we meet these moments. Instead of resisting, we can observe. Instead of being overwhelmed, we can step back and see more clearly. Over time, we learn that disappointment is not the end of the road. It is simply another step on the journey. As you reflect on these ideas, I hope they bring you some clarity and comfort. If there are moments of disappointment in your life right now, may you find the strength to move through them with wisdom. And if you have already overcome past disappointments, may those experiences continue to guide you with understanding and grace. I also want to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to those who have supported this channel. Your kind words, your thoughtful comments, and your encouragement mean a great deal. For those who have liked the videos, subscribed, or even shared them with others, thank you. And to those who have chosen to support through super thanks, your generosity is truly appreciated. May you continue to walk your path with wisdom and peace. And may you find, even in life's challenges, the strength to keep moving forward.